Heyo! Welcome to Paint It Plastic People. My name is Charles and I help aspiring and beginner miniature painters learn to save time and money by teaching them to paint fast and effective. And in today's video I'm teaching you how to do some highlights and how to get the most out of them, so let's do it to it. How do you highlight a miniature, I hear you ask, through this camera somehow? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to take your paint that you use to base coat your miniature with and you're going to reapply it. This time, instead of reapplying it everywhere all over your miniature, you're actually just going to put it on the upraised areas. So the top of like the nose, for instance, on like the forehead, the cheeks, if you're doing the face, or the top of the helmet, that kind of thing. You're just going to apply it onto those areas rather than going into the recesses and the folds and the cracks and what have you of your miniature where the wash and shade settled. And so in doing this, you're going to use them as a guideline sort of to basically give your miniature this whole new lease on life. Suddenly it's going to look really great. Now you can spend a lot of time here. It's the most difficult step. You have to be very careful here. You could potentially spend a lot of time here, hours and hours, potentially just trying to get the highlights just right, just trying to get everything just right. I'm going to do my best here in this video to kind of cut that time down for you, to simplify things and make sure you're not overthinking everything. Brush control. It's a very big thing for miniature painters. Now you can do one very easy thing, and that is to take your elbows and to bring them in closer together. What this is going to do is you're going to sturdy up your wrists so they don't have to do as much work now. And it's going to give your wrist also a good support so that when you go to actually apply paint to your miniature, you can have a steadier place to go from, and you're less likely to make any sort of fidgety mistakes. This is also used in all sorts of miniature painting, from your base coating and your shading as well, but here in highlighting, I think it's the time that you would use it the most. It's where it's the most important, where you're trying to make the least amount of mistakes and make your miniature really stand out as good as you can. Building off of back a couple videos ago when I was talking about base coating, when I talked about the two thin coats method, this is the 3 passes. So what you should do is when you paint your miniature, you're putting your highlights down, is you should make 3 passes. When you apply your highlight the first time, it's actually gonna look good at first because the paint's wet. But then once the paint dries, it's gonna dull down, so it's not gonna look as good. A good idea here is to give it 3 passes. Because of the translucent nature of these miniature paints, that brightness is just gonna build back up until you're basically at where it was when you applied it wet the first time. 3 passes is all you really should do. Once you go into 4 or more, you're into diminishing returns because this stuff is just so translucent. You should apply this to every highlight level you do, is just give it 3 passes before you move on to the next. Next up is mixing in brighter colors, not just white. So what I mean by this is you should look to your colors that you're using first. So let's say you're using blue on a miniature. Instead of just mixing in white to make it brighter, which can oftentimes go too bright too soon, what you should do is find, if you have a blue that is a bit lighter than the blue you are using, is mix a little bit of that in. You can do the same thing with any color really, just mix in a brighter version of that color into your highlights. It'll look a lot more natural that way than to throw in just white, and it's a lot safer as well. A good tip I can give you here as well is to help with this is to get yourself a color wheel. Now you can get a color wheel online, you can just go into Google, search one up and download one onto your phone or something. If you want a physical color wheel in front of you, I'm pretty sure any hardware store will offer up one freely to you, so you can do that way as well. But you can follow the color wheel, so if you're transitioning from a really bright color, like a very bright red, you can look and the next brightest color is orange. So you can start mixing in orange into your red to make natural highlights that way. Just follow from your darkest colors all the way up to your brightest colors. Hey there, just want to pop in real quick, and if you're enjoying this video and it's really helping you out, leave a like down below. I really appreciate it. Helps the channel out. And without further ado, let's get back to the show. Don't be afraid to push your highlights. And what I mean by that is don't be afraid to make them like super bright. Don't be afraid to like really get like high end with your miniature painting. If you want to improve, this is the kind of step you have to do. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's a really good tip I've heard before. But at the same time, if you're like me and you just want to get your miniatures to the table, there's no harm in doing one level of highlight. So just doing your 3 passes with the one color, your base color, or maybe even just going up one step above that, maybe just putting in a little bit of a brighter of whatever color you're basing your miniature with. And that's it. Don't worry about going super crazy, because I like to get my miniatures to the table. I like to get my games played. So you don't have to go super nuts here. But it is an option. If you're looking to improve your miniature painting, you can always come back and look on this video, look on this part, whatever, or just keep it in the back of your mind to push your highlights. Don't be afraid to push them. It's just paint. You can always redo it. So this tip is for highlighting faces specifically. You can take a red, a blue, and a pink, and you can mix them in their skin tone. Now, just mix a little bit in. I've always gone by the rule of mix in less than you think you'll need. That way you don't go too crazy too quickly. What you can do is with the blue, you can mix that in, and you can use that sort of on where your character would have facial hair, for the male characters obviously. And you will kind of create that sort of graying skin look that some guys have once they've shaved their facial hair off. You can use the red for male or female characters and kind of use that to give color into their cheeks and nose. So you would put in a little bit of red, mix that in, and just kind of go over their cheeks and their nose to give them a little bit of color there as well. And the last thing you can do is for the female characters is you can mix in pink and give them sort of blush in their cheeks to simulate makeup they might be wearing. You can do this with like eyeshadow and stuff too if you want to do stuff like that as well, if you're feeling a little experimental. Just wanted to give you a quick reminder that this was part 5 of 6 of our in-depth of looking into how to paint a miniature. If you like this video, give it a like. I really appreciate it. You can leave a comment down below if something wasn't explained very clearly or you had more questions. You can subscribe if you really like the video. You can hit that bell icon so you never miss a video. You get a notification every time I upload one. You can share this with your friends and family or whoever might be interested in this video if you really liked it. And remember to get it to the table and have a good day.